Hello and welcome to the garden. Today is the very first garden tour of 2020 and there's not a lot out here, but I'm calling this week 0 because I have all my plant markers put out for all the tomatoes, all the cucumbers, the beans, everything else that's not out here yet. So my thought was I will show you where I put these markers, and then next week, after all the tomatoes are in, we can see what I changed between this week and next week. So my planting day for tomatoes is this Friday. Today is Monday, and so it is coming up quick, and I'm so excited. All the tomatoes actually are over there, hardening off. They're pretty much ready to go in, but I'm giving them a few more days out on the table in the sunlight just to get them acclimated to the great outdoors. So let's get started on this garden tour. The first thing we have as soon as we walk in, this is next to the front arch. This is a black-eyed Susan that I replanted last year from another part of the yard. These are some purple plum radishes. They're not quite ready to come up yet, but they are getting there. And then we have some sparkler white tip radishes, and I actually pulled a couple of these yesterday, and I didn't know if they were ready, but see, you can see this one is starting to you can start seeing their little shoulders, and that's kind of how you know they're getting close to being ready to come up. So I'm still not sure, I don't know if this one is ready or not, but yeah, this is my first year growing radishes, so I'm not super sure, but I pulled a couple up yesterday and they were delicious. If we continue down this row, this pot has some zinnias in it that I started. These are going to go in the ground right in this area this evening. I brought them out here to get them used to being outside. They were in the greenhouse, but I'm going to put those in the ground tonight. If we back up and we go to the other side, this is where all the herbs were last year. There was a rosemary bush right here, and I dug that up last night and put it in a pot because it had not come back yet, so I'm not sure if it's dead or if it's still just taking its sweet time coming back. But this grow bag has some yellow potatoes in it. They're just potatoes I had from the store. This grow bag has carrots in it. This has Parisian carrots and some Danvers half-longs. And then my one lavender bush is starting to come back. It's starting to get more green down here, so that makes me super excited. This lavender bush, not real sure if it's gonna come back or not. I do not know, so I'm gonna leave it for now, but I don't know if it's doing anything. Up here, there's some dirt. I'm gonna plant a bunch of dill right here in this area, and maybe some cilantro too. I don't know, we'll see what kind of seeds end up in the ground. Right here is our first tomato plant, and you're like, what? This Black Seaman tomato plant is one that Katie grew and gave me. I think it's a determinate plant. I did some research, and everything I found says it's a determinate, but I've also seen it called an indeterminate. So I'm not quite sure what it is. But if it is a determinate, that's the only determinate I will have in the garden this year. So I don't really have room back here to put it on a panel. So I am just going to put it in the ground right here, and I will just stake it up with a regular stake, like a wood stake like I have in the past. And we're just gonna see how it does, I guess. So continuing down this side of the garden, the garlic tub is sitting right here, but it is not going to stay here. It is going to go somewhere else, but I'm not quite sure exactly where that's going to go yet. But this area is going to be all bush beans, this whole area. So we are doing our jade, our top crop, and our burgundy bush beans. And I'm just going to fill up this area from the strawberries all the way down to like here. This whole area is going to be full of bush beans. And next to the bush beans, we have our strawberry patch. And as you can see, there are tons of flowers on these plants, and that makes me so excited. They're starting to come into it. This is the most flowers I've ever had from these plants. So I am very hopeful that this year I'm going to get some berries, because I have not really gotten any yet. This is the 3rd year for these, so they should be ready to produce. And then here's a grow bag. This has delicata squash in it. Well, actually it has nothing in it yet, but it will have delicata squash in it. Now, delicata squash is something that I have seen people talk about on Instagram, about how delicious it is. I've actually seen it, people call it the Lord's gourd because it's a winter squash. I had never had it, but I bought the seeds for it and I was like, I don't know, it has to be good. People rave about it. And I was at I think I was at Fresh Time in a different city over the winter, and where my brother lives, and they had delicata squash, and so I got some and it was so good, and I was like, I am for sure planting that. So that is going in a grow bag. I have it where it is right now, but it's probably going to move once things get established in the garden. So like I have it right here next to the cattle panel where the tomatoes are going. It's going to be big. I probably will not leave it right here, but for right now, this is where it's sitting. This bag is full of potting mix right now. I have not added anything else to it. I'm going to mix in some compost before I actually plant any seeds in this. These squash seeds, along with the other 2 squash I'm doing, will not go in for a few more weeks, a couple more weeks, maybe 2 more weeks, and then I will plant some squash seeds. So now we are in the tomato area. All of this is tomatoes. I still need to weed over here, but I have all my plant markers out. So let's go through and look at all these tomatoes. Well, they're not in the ground yet, but the markers for where they're going to go. So first up is Carbon, and it is a black tomato, and Katie grew that one for me. The next one is a Costoluto Genovese, I don't know. Another one Katie grew for me. Next is a Ghost Cherry, which is a white cherry. Next is an Amish Paste, a good red paste tomato. And then next to that, I have Aunt Ruby's German Green, and I'm actually doing 2 of those. So that's gonna be one, it just doesn't have the name on it. Over here I have large red cherry. This is in the corner, so it can come up and kind of spread this way if it wants. And then we have Kellogg's Breakfast. Actually, I'm doing 2 of those. So again, this is gonna be 1, 2, but I didn't mark on the plant marker. And then my all-time favorite so far, Chianti Rose, is going to be right in the middle. So right in the middle of the cattle panel is the Chianti Rose, which I feel like is fitting. Next to that is Thorburns Terracotta. And then we have Triple Crop. Back here in the corner, we're doing Blonde Girl Cherry, which is a yellow cherry. And then Pink Ox Heart. Brandywine Black. Pineapple. Cherokee Purple, and San Marzano. So that's all the tomatoes, including that black seaman that's up at the front of the garden. So that's a lot. It's a lot of tomatoes. Last year I just had the 8 indeterminate plants. This year I have 18 indeterminates and 1 determinate.
So that makes 19 tomato plants. Plus, that's not right. I have a dwarf plant called the Mini Bell that is going in a pot. And I think that's going to go on the front porch, actually. So that makes 20 plants. 19 in the garden and 1 on the front porch. So that's a lot of tomatoes. But why not? I did 18 last year, so I literally just added like 1.5 more. That Mini Bell makes like little tiny cherry tomatoes, so I don't know if I would count that as like a full like blown tomato plant, but whatever, I love them. So the peppers are going right here in the middle of tomato land. They are going to be planted pretty close together because they like to have friends. And we have our Keystone Resistant Giant Bells going here. And then we have our Chocolate Beauty Bell. We just have one of those, so it's gonna go right there. And then our Cayenne, just one right there. And then our Pepperoncini is gonna go right there, just one. And then I have my Craig's Grande Jalapeno. I think I'm gonna do 2 or 3 of those, and they'll be like right here. Over here, this is where the sunflowers were last year. But as you can see, there's not a ton of space right there. That's probably only about 3 feet. So I am actually not going to be doing any big sunflowers in the garden this year because I just don't have the room. I could probably fit like 2 right here, but I don't want them to shadow this or this. So I decided to forego that. I am going to put some small teddy bear sunflowers in right here. And I may put some zinnias in as well. Right now it has another grow bag for my Italian striped zucchini, and it has some more sunflowers in it that aren't really doing super well. So I'm gonna pull those out. The lettuce tower is doing pretty great. I have some spinach, lettuce, some kale, red Russian kale. This is American spinach, and this up here, this is the Rocky Top lettuce blend from Baker Creek. I have a couple of cilantros coming up, and I also have down here some slow bolt arugula. This stuff is super good. In this archway, right now I have my 2 trays of herbs out here hardening off, but in the archway we are going to do, on this panel, both of these sides are going to be pole beans. We have our purple potted pole beans going on this side and rattlesnake pole beans going on this side. Next to the beans, we're doing Minnesota midget cantaloupes and some crimson sweet watermelons up these sides. And then over here, we're doing cucumbers. So we're gonna do a green dragon burpless cucumber here, which is the same variety I grew last year. And we have a new variety, which is called Muncher, which is like a smaller variety. It's gonna go on this half. And then down here we have our peas. Some of these are not doing super well, and some of them are doing okay. Like these are growing, but like that's not really, some of them have just kind of petered out. But we have mammoth snow peas and golden snow peas. Here in the middle I have another plant marker for Kentucky Wonder pole beans, and those are going to go in the ground after the peas are done. I've never grown peas, but they like it cool, so I'm pretty sure that by the end of June or the beginning of July these will be done. They'll be too hot, so at that point that's when I will plant my Kentucky Wonder pole beans. Now I'm gonna have my 3 varieties of bush beans and 2 varieties of pole beans already in the ground at that point, so I should be good on beans. But after last year's fiasco with the beans, I was like, okay, we're gonna try all new beans, all new bean seeds. I did grow Kentucky Wonders last year, but they were not Kentucky Wonders. So I bought new seeds from a different vendor. I got them from In My Gardener this year. Last year I got them from Rural King. So different vendor, different seeds. We're gonna try it, see if it works, because I'd really like it to work. I really would love to have just so many beans. That's pretty much the garden tour for this week. I'm so excited to plant my tomatoes this week. The weather is looking wonderful. It is going to be in the 50s at night over the next week or two, and then it just gets warmer from there, which is awesome. It's perfect for getting things out into the garden. Week 0 complete. Week 1, it will look very different. I'm gonna have the mulch put down and the rest of the compost put down and all of that. So, but yes, thank you for watching week 0 2020 garden tour, and I will see you in the next one.